coming to you after having started reading this book called How Emotions Are Made. And it's by Lisa Feldman Barrett. And in her book, she's explaining how the whole concept of how we've been thinking about how we've come up with emotions. She has a picture in the book of a person who's very emotional. And she's asking, when you look at this picture, what comes up for you? What do you think this person is going through? What emotion is this person having? And as you look at the picture, certain thoughts may come up. And the whole idea behind her showing this picture is to explain that when you look at the picture in full context, understanding what the picture means, you can see that the expression can be something else, or the emotions that you initially thought was behind this facial expression, it's actually coming from something else. So this is the first picture. And then the second picture, so this is Serena when she beat her sister Venus, and how excited she was over winning the match. And that was her expression. So when you consider looking at the first picture and then looking at the second picture, in the book, Lisa Barrett is really talking about how when you see a person's facial expression, you may come up with your interpretation of what they may be going through. And she's explaining that you can't really base it on that, that you really need to understand the full context of what was happening. And when you understand the full context of what is happening, then you can really connect. You'll have clarity around what the facial expression was about. Even though we've been taught that in school, and you even have emojis now that's showing you smiling face means happy, we're conditioned to really think that those facial expressions, and sure, we can say that by automatically we come up with those facial expressions, because of course if something is funny you laugh, so of course laughter means something is funny. But it's not about that per se, but that there's so many levels underneath happiness. There's so many levels underneath sadness, so many words to describe that one feeling. And so picking and choosing from, creating a general picture is not really the right way to interpret something. It is really looking at the layers beneath it, because one facial expression can mean so many different things. That is the context behind what she's explaining in the book. So basically, our emotions are learned, and just like we learned it, we can unlearn it and relearn it, meaning that you may think that you're stuck with a certain emotion or how you're feeling, and you may have been taught to react a certain way to certain situations, or the way that you reacted to something when you were younger doesn't mean that as an adult you still need to react that same way. You can replace your old pattern or your old way of doing, your old way of reacting. You can replace that with something that serves you. It's wonderful to see that there is nothing set in stone. So we put a lot of, because I'm one of those people, I don't believe everything I hear at first listening. I need to experience it, get more information about it before I just take things on. So I always like when I see things like this, showing that for years and years, they teach us even in school that when you see a person's, what face does this mean? What face does that mean? And just looking at a person's face, you'll be able to tell what they may be going through, what they're thinking, whatever. But the reality is that we don't really know. It's just us interpreting based on what we're going through. It's kind of like projecting, but everyone is going through their own thing. And just by looking at a certain person's face, you don't really know what's going on inside. And even that whole concept, it goes to show you that we are really living our life based on what we're experiencing. And, even through this whole journey, I've learned that everything that I think may not always be a reality. It's just my thought, and I'm well aware that I am going through life through my own experiences. So what looks to be a certain situation or issue from my perspective, that's just from my perspective. And the wonderful thing is, because it's not the reality, it can always change because there are always a lot of other options. And I'm just saying that because sometimes we get so stuck in that victim role. You know, our day is just hectic. We have a lot that we need to do. I'm spending my time doing this when I'd rather do that. What can I do? This is just my situation. And we feel stuck. There's no hope because we are living from, our circumstance, our past. And sometimes we don't realize that there is another way. There is another way, but we don't see it because we're living through our lens, you know. But there's a whole bunch of other lenses. You can put on a new frame and see things differently, completely differently. But we don't even realize that that frame exists.